Kit Klarenberg. You guys have heard of him, right? You know Kit?
He's the one that got knocked off Twitter for being anti-Semitic, right? Antiseptic?
He antagonized an October 7th victim family and basically said, it was not nice. So, yeah, I don't want to get us kicked off too. So, anyway, Kit Klarenberg,
I'm sure he spoke truth.
Is an Indie Media Award honoree, by the way. That's a sound I was looking for. So Kit writes an article on March 31st to close out Q1. Secret CIA presence on January 6th confirmed. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, YouTube may not like this story. Facebook. So another side adjunct to this, well, I'll get to afterwards. And then there's a couple of comments that add additional flair to this article. So, holy crap. CIA, January 6th. What is he talking about? So he starts out very, flowery, few issues other than John F. Kennedy's assassination was a conspiracy. 9/11 was an inside job, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Unite Americans more than the belief that January 6th was the insurrection, quote unquote, was incited by government provocateurs. We've heard this before. While initially, Biden administration officials aggressively exploited the incident for partisan political purposes, say that 5 times fast, partisan political purposes.
President Trump incited an erection.
Oh, yes, that one. That's her, Vice President Kamala Harris. Oh, my God, did you see her this week? Ludicrously likening the unrest to Pearl Harbor and 9/11. It subsequently dropped off the mainstream radar without a trace. That's interesting. How about that?
9/11.
No, not 9/11. No, this is 1/6, which is
9/11 was bad.
Yes, what it was, and this is what the Democrats say was the equivalent of 9/11 to them. So, an official desire to suppress awkward questions about what precisely happened that fateful day and why may account for this omerta. After all, a steady stream of clues suggesting that the insurrection may have been fomented by shadowy state actors has trickled into the public domain ever since. The latest is quite a bombshell. And again, remember this show is called How Did We Miss That? And I'm guessing you did. Because I did. Legal activist group Judicial Watch has unearthed 88 pages of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or the ATF agency records, proving that CIA operatives were covertly present on January 6th. Wait, what? Okay. The documents, secured via court order after the DOJ ignored FOIA requests, include a series of text messages between Bureau agents. In a group chat titled January 7th Intel Chain, the exchanges contain 2 references to direct CIA participation in the official response to the day's tumult. That's a nice way to describe it. I like it. He's very flowery with his language. Right? One message states, quote, 2 CIA bomb techs, unquote, were assisting with a quote-unquote pipe bomb scene in D.C., unquote. The other mentions several CIA dog teams on standby in the vicinity of the quote-unquote insurrection. Houston. Okay, so here's the text message chain that's very interesting, that there's a FaceTime call, a couple of them. Then there's a text message from this agent who says drone reported at the southwest region of the Capitol. And somebody else says 7 NGA dog teams, 2 ATF, and several CIA dog teams on standby. Interesting. Kid continues. In theory, despite the CIA's constitutional prohibition on domestic activities, which the agency regularly breaches with impunity in any event, there is nothing necessarily suspicious about its covert presence in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. As an official fact sheet notes, Langley's K-9 unit has routinely been deployed to external events on U.S. soil, including Super Bowls, Miss Universe pageants, Major League Baseball games, and the Olympics. Moreover, there were numerous pipe bombs secreted in the U.S. Capitol, requiring expert removal. Wait, what? Allegedly? Do I have to say allegedly? I don't know. We'll say allegedly. It doesn't, but I'm going to say allegedly. This is look at this, like a baseball card for a K-9 police dog for the CIA. ACAB, including dogs, sorry. Now, however, the fact sheet reveals that bomb disposal isn't the CIA K-9 unit's sole or even prime responsibility. Its avowed mission, and again, that's written down here, is to, quote, protect the worldwide assets and personnel of the CIA, emphasis added. K-9 teams are trained to detect all types of explosives by searching delivery trucks, buildings, vehicles, packages, and assisting CIA police officers, emphasis added, unquote. When one considers that whoever laid pipe bombs in D.C. remains at large, suspicions about clandestine federal machinations on January 6th can only multiply. Allegedly. Again, allegedly. Allegedly, YouTube. Allegedly. Now, the FBI announced that it had defused viable pipe bombs left at the Democratic and Republican National Committee buildings in D.C. mere hours after the Capitol's breach on January 6th and before the National Guard arrived on scene. Did you know that, Reef?
It must be true.
Did you know that, Reef?
What?
Did you know
Did I know that there was
pipe bombs planted
stuff over with Nancy Pelosi and whatnot? I've heard something in that.
Allegedly planted in both.
Allegedly.
But not in their offices or not in Congress, but in the DNC and the RNC buildings.
Yes.
I did not hear that. So the Bureau subsequently published, quote unquote, images and video of the suspect, the suspect's backpack, the suspect's shoes, the explosive devices, and a map of the route the suspect walked the night the pipe bombs were placed. But curiously, of purportedly 23,000 collected videos, just 6 have been released to date, none of which contain anything that would assist in identifying the individual in question. And this was the Bolo. The be on the lookout.
The Bolo? Oh.
Yeah, this was the official notification put out by the FBI on January 6th about somebody who had planted pipe bombs, allegedly, in the DNC and the RNC.
Allegedly.
Now.
Gotcha.
A $500,000, dude, how did we not know this story? A $500,000 reward was offered for information leading to the suspect's prosecution. Fast forward 3 years and the sum remains unclaimed. Go figure. I'm surprised some CIA agent hasn't claimed it. A renewed call for witnesses issued by the FBI on January 4th of this year noted that in the intervening time, quote, a dedicated team of FBI agents, analysts, data scientists, and law enforcement partners has worked thousands of hours conducting interviews, reviewing physical and digital evidence, and assessing tips from the public, unquote. These leads reportedly helped the Bureau, quote, advance the investigation, unquote. But they're still nowhere, and they're still offering this reward, and they still know nothing. It's unclear, however, given that the culprit hasn't been caught, why pipe bombs were placed at the DNC and RNC is likewise uncertain. Now, then Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund and several U.S. lawmakers have speculated that the purpose was to divert law enforcement from the site of the looming, quote-unquote, insurrection. As it was, 3 separate police teams posted who were at the Capitol were dispatched to the RNC, leaving just 1 squad at the Capitol building right when the Trump supporters were massing at the barricades. Did you know that?
What is going on here?
Did you know that? Holy shit. This is getting crazy. Now, curiously, the RNC pipe bomb was apparently found via pure happenstance. This is insane. This is insane. A local U.S. government employee working remotely decided to use her lunch hour to do her laundry. Her apartment block's laundry room was situated at the back of the building, accessible via an alleyway shared with the RNC. Having dropped her clothes off and returned home at noon, she reportedly went back to use her dryer around 12:45 when she spotted the device. Coincidentally, this individual was at the time project manager at a public-private partnership providing first responders with emergency communications during terror attacks and natural disasters, which weeks earlier had signed a $92 million contract with the FBI. Well, that's interesting. And then you see this weird timing device. She says she had repeatedly claimed that the pipe bomb was found just 20 minutes before its allegedly timed detonation. Problematically, though, pictures of the timer released by the FBI show it had a maximum delay of 1 hour, raising the obvious question of how could it possibly have been laid on January 5th but rigged to go off the next day at all if it only had a 60-minute timer? Moreover, the DNC pipe bomb was discovered at roughly 1:15 in the afternoon, 30 minutes later, authorities having had the foresight to check the nearby building's grounds too, ostensibly on a whim. On a whim?
Just a whim.
But
maybe a Wim Hof, but I feel like just a whim. Yeah.
But the device didn't explode when the RNC bomb was allegedly intended to. So that's interesting. Once alerted, scores of police arrived almost immediately, a crew of ATF and FBI agents in tow. This almost reminds me of like Die Hard, which is the one in New York City. That's the third one with Sam Jackson, right? Where they have the explosion downtown so that they can rob the thing somewhere else and transport all the gold out of the thing. This almost seems like they were trying to create a diversionary situation. Let's just call it situation. Okay. I don't know how to describe this, but if the bomber's objective, okay, so once alerted, scores of police arrived almost immediately, crew of FBI agents and ATF agents in tow. But if the bomber's objective truly was to divert law enforcement from the Capitol, this can only be considered miraculous timing, given that at 12:54 p.m., heavily surveilled Proud Boys activist Ryan Samsel breached the barricades, leading to a deluge of Trump supporters following suit and the subsequent quote-unquote insurrection or riot or whatever you want to call it. Were it not for
the thing.
Yep. Were it not for a U.S. government employee's chance find minutes before, January 6th may have played out rather differently. If either of those devices had actually been able to go off.
They would have gotten more money for Capitol Police, you mean?
Maybe. Maybe. So the FBI states that the two devices were laid between approximately 7:30 and 8:30 on the evening of the 5th. But this lack of clarity is peculiar given the extensive footage of the suspect planting the pipe bombs and the Bureau tracking their movements to and from the area with precision. Did any of this come out during the January 6th hearings? Is this where we learned about all this? Or did they not even talk about it during that? I didn't pay attention to any of that stuff.
I heard of some people talking vaguely about this, but that like that police were diverted from it because of Pelosi and stuff like that. Like I don't know.
Well, we had heard about Ray. We had heard about Ray Epps. We had heard about like Ray Epps, and somehow there was a connection between Ray Epps and Nancy Pelosi, which I don't know if there is or not. That's an allegation.
No, there was something with this DNC thing. I just can't remember exactly.
But the DNC and RNC are a 5-minute walk from each other, so it's not like they're like right next door to each other. But Washington, D.C. is the second most CCTV saturated U.S. city by some margin, remarkable given its size, small size. My guess is that Las Vegas would be the number one. There are 35,082 local surveillance cameras in total. It's impressive that he got that number. I don't know where he pulled it from. Or 55.5 cameras per 1,000 citizens. Evidently, the feeds are not monitored in real time, for the suspect made no attempt whatsoever to conceal their activities. A hooded and masked individual openly secreting something at 2 highly sensitive, well-protected political sites in succession would surely arouse some suspicion if so. Wouldn't it?
You think?
That the pipe bomber, allegedly, placed highly destructive payloads at the DNC and RNC so brazenly on January 5th, 2021, without incident, entirely unnoticed, before disappearing completely into the ether like a fart in the wind, is extraordinary. With Trump's Save America rally scheduled for the next day, DC was filling up with his supporters. That evening, they staged a demonstration in Freedom Plaza, which turned violent when Antifa and Black Lives Matter counter-protesters arrived, producing clashes broken up by police. The city was already on high alert. As if they wouldn't be protecting those buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Over the prior week, too, the FBI and its field offices consistently warned of armed protesters in every state and plans by Trump supporters that included violence. Right? On January 5th, the Bureau's Norfolk, Virginia HQ emailed Capitol Police in an internal situational information report. Subject line, quote, potential criminal activities in the Washington, D.C. area are planned for tomorrow, unquote. It contained multiple social media posts indicating some Save America attendees had unambiguously malign intentions. Here's one that boldly declared, quote, be ready to fight. Congress needs to hear glass breaking, doors being kicked in, and blood from their BLM and Pantifa slave soldiers being spilled. Ay, ay, ay. Get violent. Again, this is a quote. We are not advocating for this. We are reading this directly. Stop calling this a march or rally or protest. Get there ready for a war. Or go there ready for war is the quote directly. We get our president or we die. Nothing else will achieve this goal. Yoinks. Okay. Wow. So this FBI warning may account for why, according to mainstream corporate media reports published in the immediate aftermath of January 6th, Capitol Hill staffers were urged by supervisors not to attend work that day. We've talked about that due to greatly heightened risk levels. So they knew something was up, but it does not explain DC authorities simultaneously failing to deploy basic precautions, such as frozen zones and hardened barriers commonly used for major events in the area. Now that police me harder, Daddy, is that really what Kit is saying there? I don't know if I agree with that. By contrast, it seems that the outgoing administration was highly security conscious on January 6th. Of course, we know. In January 2022, Trump's deputy chief of staff, Anthony Ornato, told House Select Committee on the January 6th attack investigators that his superior, Mark Meadows, pressured D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to request a sizable National Guard presence on the day. In the event of violent clashes with counter-protesters erupting again, he claims Trump suggested up to 10,000 peacekeepers would be necessary. Wait, what? But everybody said that Trump didn't want the National Guard deployed. Ornato also revealed Trump administration frustration with the acting SecDef Christopher Miller's slow deployment of the National Guard on the afternoon of January 6th. Now, this is totally...
almost like they wanted it to happen, almost, allegedly.
Now, this is totally counter to what the reports originally said, but now it's saying that once the Capitol was breached, Meadows ordered Miller, quote, get them in here to secure the Capitol now, unquote. Ornato's exculpatory testimony was concealed until March 8th this year. Why? We know why. 2 months earlier, Committee Chair Liz Cheney falsely claimed that there was, quote, no evidence that Trump ordered the Capitol to be protected. Well, now we know 10,000. He asked for 10,000 National Guardsmen. Again, not exonerating Trump for all of this stuff. Was this
before or after he threw the ketchup at the wall?
Allegedly, because that wait
Allegedly.
a minute. That came from the Facebook whistleblower chick, whatever her name. Not really.
I know.
No, the girl who was in the office, maybe, whatever. In February 2021, Time magazine published a lengthy investigation into how Democrat activists, unions, anti-Trump Republicans, major U.S. corporations, and big tech secretly banded together to fortify the 2020 presidential election and defeat every attempt to interfere with the vote's proper outcome. Quote, proper outcome meaning creepy, sleepy, handsy Uncle Joe ends up winning.
Yeah.
The article explained that there were virtually no counter demonstrators on January 6th to preserve safety and ensure that they couldn't be blamed for any mayhem, emphasis added. The activist left was strenuously discouraging counter activity. What activist left was that? Because we were in Washington 3 days before for Force the Vote. What the hell are you talking about? Now, on January 6th,
shit then.
We certainly were not excited about the inauguration because we don't give a crap about electoral politics beyond getting the Medicare for all, which is what we were pushing for. And when we knew they weren't going to do it, that's when we stood out there. Anyway, putting these facts together, we're left with the ineluctable, whatever conclusion that at the very
ineluctable?
No, not ineluctable. I don't know that word. Conclusion, but that at the very least, the January 6, 2021 insurrection, quote unquote, was widely known about in advance by powerful figures and U.S. government agencies. Even Whitney Webb knew. Did they consciously permit or in one way or another encourage the predicted mayhem to happen? If nothing else, the now confirmed presence of CIA personnel in the midst of that mayhem represents an entirely new, deeply troubling dimension of an already disquieting record of the day's events. So that's Kit over on Substack. His new Substack, he just renamed it Active Measures. And then there's this guy, and I don't agree with a lot of what this guy posts. I checked out his Substack, but he does publish out there. Revet PFC Billy Masterson says, yes, the pipe bomb images released by FBI were just about as I recalled them, and I'm not the only person who questioned a Walmart mainstay's 1 hour kitchen mechanical timer with 20 minutes remaining being found 16 hours after the FBI alleged that the device was planted. Additionally, said timer had the index mark removed. When taken from its original outer case, device shown by FBI had no marking showing 0 was needed to visually interpret what at any set time on the device was. If this was a visual prop, it was not a well thought out one. Would like to ask the laundry lady how she determined the time set of device. As a DNC employee, she must be quite intelligent. I have no connection to the author or the linked PDF, nor do I draw all the same conclusions, but I did myself previously note several of the discrepancies their PDF point towards. And this is that PDF about the pipe bombs. So Kit responds and says, thank you very much for this. I didn't believe the 20 minutes remaining story for a second. Of course, a pointless dramatic flourish and the kind of extraneous information psychopaths and narcissists insert into their fantasies to enhance their credibility. That PDF has a ton of great info. Likewise, I don't concur entirely, but it lays out the facts or lack thereof well. And that, again, is in this Defy CCC. And I'll put the link to the Kit Klarenberg article where you can see the comments. But this also gets interesting. Out of curiosity, I looked for Carlin Younger, who is the laundry lady. She's from his home area, more or less. Carlin Younger is now the principal product manager for an outfit that very much smells like the public-private online censorship industrial complex, PendulumIntel.com. After a series of other .gov and .mil civilian corporate contractor jobs she had no apparent academic qualifications for, nice work if you can get it. Okay, it's got always on monitoring, right? Yeah, they go back and forth. This lady seems like she'll be an asset while on the team at any such organization. Yeah, she's likely, they're saying that she's likely another spook that they outed and found.